Breaking news on Tuesday, the Patriots have released quarterback Cam Newton, paving the way for the Mac Jones era to begin in Foxboro. Evan Lazar for CLNS Media had to pull 98.5's Alex Barth in for this one. Yes. An absolute shocker on cut-down day for the Patriots. Bill Belichick has decided to release veteran quarterback Cam Newton and go with the rookie Mac Jones as his Week 1 starter. Alex, just initially, your reactions to Cam getting cut here today.
Wow. Is there more of a reaction than that? This is the biggest individual moment for the Patriots in the last 532 days. That's going back to March 17th, 2020, when the last guy announced that he would be going elsewhere. A major shakeup and a new era for the organization. I don't know if you can call one season an era. That's what it was. You couldn't expect it to go smoothly from Brady to the next established guy. Cam Newton came in. He did the best job he could. It was a pleasure to cover. I think for all his struggles on the field, he truly embraced being a member of the Patriots. But I think now that the real next era begins here with Mac Jones as we look towards now not just a year at a time, but we can now look at this in terms of the next 3 to 4 to 5 year window and what this team can be with him at the helm.
Well, we looked so much into, Alex, the order in which the quarterbacks were repping out at training camp. Ultimately, we probably should have paid more attention to the snaps, right? Both the preseason games and in training camp, Mac Jones heavily out-snapping Cam Newton every single step of the way. And I think the one... But Cam Newton was with the ones, Mac Jones was with the twos. Right.
So even that was... This came out of nowhere.
Yes.
I don't think you can go... If you want to apply revisionist history to this in terms of let's look back and see where we went wrong.
Right.
The vaccination, missing the 3 days last week.
I want to get to that in a second. Okay. But I think the biggest thing that we saw out here with this decision today is that Mac Jones not only did what was best for the team when it came to stuff like the vaccination, which we'll talk about that impact in a second, but he also went out there and earned the starting job. He played the best. He was the best quarterback this summer in Patriots training camp and in the preseason. PFF had him as the second highest graded quarterback in the entire NFL. I know some people don't like PFF, but that just shows you how good he was on the field for the Patriots this summer. And there's something to be said still with all the veteran talk, all the experience talk with Cam Newton. Bill Belichick won't move on from Cam. There is something to be said for the fact that Bill Belichick said, Mac Jones outplayed you this summer. He did what was best for the team this summer by getting the vaccine and making sure that he was going to be available for us every single week. It's Mac's job. I feel like that is a throwback Bill Belichick approach.
No, Mac earned this. This has nothing to do with, and people will make this about Cam Newton's shortcomings. I don't believe it is. Cam Newton was an improved player this summer from the player we saw last year. He truly was. And, maybe this was a case of Mac was going to be the starter. Cam didn't want to be the backup. Maybe even Cam knew he was going to be the starter to start the season, but didn't want to be a lame duck starter and figured he'd get out now as opposed to getting benched in week 4 or 5. And we'll see ultimately where he goes. That will tell us a lot about that. But no, Mac Jones came out. He won this job. You mentioned the vaccination thing. I think that's a part of it. It's obviously going to be painted as a mutual parting of ways. Right. I don't think we've heard that officially yet from either side, but I'd be shocked, absolutely shocked, if we didn't hear that term, mutual parting of ways, at some point today. But Mac Jones won the job. Mac Jones starting quarterback. Now, there's going to be growing pains. He didn't look like an MVP candidate. He looked like a rookie NFL starter. Right. There's growing pains that come with that, but he's somebody that Patriots fans can get behind. They can believe in. I think in the long term, he's a guy who can end up being the face of this franchise.
So I think a lot of people are also going to question why not keep both quarterbacks and have a Drew Brees, Taysom Hill type of relationship.
I would assume Cam Newton didn't want that.
Either Cam Newton didn't want that or Bill Belichick might not have wanted it either, because then you have people on the outside arguing all day long. Mac Jones has a bad game. Is Cam Newton, should he be starting? If Cam has a bad game, should Mac be starting? And the back and forth we go. So the only other angle I wanted to bring up here.
Well, can I add something to that?
Right, sure.
I do still believe this team will carry 3 quarterbacks.
Yeah.
I do still believe that. I think in the age of COVID, it's important, even though guys are vaccinated. So whether it's Will Greer, got cut loose from Carolina today, a guy I've always liked for them.
Yeah.
Whether it's Brian Lewerke, who's been here, he's expected to be cut by the Giants. Even if it's, going out in trading for a guy, maybe like a Drew Lock, that high-level insurance policy, a guy Denver might be willing to move on from. That's probably a little extreme, but I think there's another quarterback coming in here at some point in the next week and a half.
So the other angle, we talked about it briefly a couple of times. How much does the vaccination status of Cam Newton factor into this? Because the 5-day absence that he had, the 3 days of practice that he missed, that felt like the door wide open for Mac Jones in those 3 days. He went out there, especially in Wednesday in joint practices with the New York Giants, and played extremely well against the Giants starters. I don't think it was the only factor here, but you have to consider that vaccination status of Cam and the ongoing issues with the protocols. That was certainly a little bit of a factor here, I would think.
And you have to wonder, too, there's new protocols expected to come out before the start of the regular season. Right. Early indications are they're going to be a little bit stricter even than what we saw during the preseason with the rise of this Delta variant. So maybe they know something we don't know yet about what these new protocols would be that would just make it unrealistic for Cam Newton to be the starting quarterback. I don't think that's the whole story here. Again, Cam Newton did play very well. And so did Mac Jones. I don't think that the vaccination issue is the whole story, but I think it would be ignorant to think that it didn't play a factor whatsoever.
Ultimately, I think what this came down to for the Patriots and Mac Jones and Cam Newton is one quarterback fits Josh McDaniels' system to a T. The other quarterback has been an odd fit since the jump. And Mac Jones was somebody that came in with a quick release, with accuracy to all 3 levels, good decision making, was able to run some of the Patriots staples right off the bat. We saw the touchdown pass against the Giants on Hasi Juke, right? You see it instantly, his fit in a quick game, McDaniels types of passing system. Cam was always a little bit of an odd fit for that, holding onto the ball at times for too long, even this summer with the improvements. Mac Jones was the guy they thought they were getting in the first round. Now he's the guy that they're going to roll with this season.
Yeah, well, I'd say there's really 2 decisions within this decision. There's releasing there's Mac Jones being the starter, and then releasing Cam Newton. Those 2 things aren't necessarily mutually exclusive. Sure. So, I wonder if one decision was made and it led to the other decision, right? I wonder if Mac Jones, they knew he was going to be the starter, and maybe they wanted to keep Cam as the backup, and he just said no, and Bill Belichick respects him and said, you know what, if you don't want to be the backup here, I understand that. I'll let you go try to find starting work elsewhere. I know Houston's been floated in theory as a possible landing spot for him.
Chicago, maybe.
Chicago could be one if they, I don't know why they're not starting Justin Fields, but Cam's an upgrade over Andy Dalton.
And he's also more stylistically more lines up with Justin.
Just remember to think about it that way. This isn't one decision. This is 2 decisions. They made the decision that Mac Jones will be the starter, as Jim McBride reported, and they made the decision to cut Cam Newton. The 2 are related, but they're not the same decision.
Okay, so Alex and I will be back this afternoon on Patriots Beat. You can check that out on the YouTube channel, Patriots Press Pass, and we're going to break down a lot more about this decision to release Cam Newton and go with quarterback Mac Jones as the Patriots starting QB in Week 1. For Alex Barth and 98.5, I'm Evan Lazar. Thanks for watching, everybody.